Belarus borders both Ukraine and Russia, and it's ruled by a Putin loyalist, President Alexander Lukashenko. The next-door war in Ukraine has only exacerbated the need for democracy. It's a mission that my next guest is fighting. Belarusian opposition leader Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya has been in exile for the past 5 years. Her husband was jailed and only freed when President Trump intervened. She's now in Australia and joins me live from Canberra in her only television interview. Sviatlana, welcome to Australia and thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, Australians.
Now, the head of our intelligence agency last night warned about the dangers of authoritarian regimes assassinating dissidents. Now, several of Lukashenko's opponents have disappeared. Are you personally afraid for your life?
Now, all the people who oppose and dictators are targets of the regime, and yes, you're right, opponents are disappearing, opponents are intimidated by the regime. We always threatened by KGB, that's still in Belarus. But sometimes you have to sacrifice your feeling of insecurity just to serve to big goals, changes in Belarus, democracy in Belarus, and we have to fight regardless the threats we are getting.
It's very brave of you because you're a mother as well. You've got, I understand, 2 children. Now, you ran for president in 2020, and it was just 2 days after your husband was jailed. He was initially running for president and he was challenging Lukashenko. What has it been like for you over the past 5 years, seeing as you are recognised by the EU as really the correct president, because it is widely reported that you actually genuinely won that election?
So, actually, I call myself accidental president because I never was in politics. But when the life put me in circumstances where I have to protect my husband, people of Belarus, I'm just, started doing what I can do. So I went through long path, and now I maybe experienced politicians, and actually I have the best teachers ever, presidents, prime ministers of all the countries who have been on this path to democracy together with me. So of course, fighting with the dictatorship is challenging. And, honestly speaking, very often when we think about fight for democracy, it sounds, very interesting, inspiring. But actually, this path is paved with tears and pain and losses, loss of freedom and even lives. But I took this responsibility, and I'm studying a lot, and my task is to advocate for changes in Belarus, advocate for Belarusian European future, and find new and look for new allies. And that's why I'm here in Australia, trying to rediscover Belarus to Australian government and Australian society.
And just can you explain to us why you believe that election in 2020 was stolen and that you actually were voted in as president?
So for Lukashenko is governing for 30 years already, and in 2020 we managed to prove that Lukashenko lost. We used technologies and additional counting of the votes, and we managed to show that Lukashenko lost and Belarusian people won the elections. And since then, our democratic partners, including Australia, didn't recognize elections in 2020 and conduct the policy of isolation and non-recognition of Lukashenko's regime. So he's not perceived as president of Belarus. He's a person who seized power. He's backed up by Putin on this path. But democratic countries are talking to democratic forces, to myself, to our civil society. So, and it's good path to support people who are fighting against dictatorship in Belarus.
As you just said there, he is backed by Putin. So this is really the power base, the money, the weaponry, the support from Russia. I mean, we've all been watching the war in Ukraine. So to what extent has Russia impacted as well on your country?
Talking about Belarus, we have to distinguish Belarusian regime and Lukashenko, who is ally to Putin, who is serving to Putin's interest, who has provided our territory, our facilities, infrastructure to invade Ukraine, and Belarusian people who are pro-democratic, pro-European, pro-Ukrainian, and people who, trying to help Ukrainians as much as we can. There are plenty of military volunteers who are fighting shoulder to shoulder with the Ukrainians, defending Ukraine. There are Belarusian partisans who disrupted disrupted railways to stop Russian invasion. And, we actually, the fate of Ukraine and Belarus are intertwined. We know that while Lukashenko is there, with the support of Putin, it will be constant threat to Ukraine, but also to our Western neighbors. And free and democratic Belarus is in the interest of all democratic society, because we see how tyrants, dictators are building alliances, they're helping each other. So fight for democracy in one country is fight for democracy everywhere. And it's moral responsibility of every democratic country to help those who are on the front line of fighting against dictators, against Putin.
No, it's such an important point, and as you said, this is why you're in Australia, to help raise awareness, to help get more allies on board. And I understand you've already met with our former Prime Minister Scott Morrison and Tony Abbott, and you're going to be meeting with Foreign Minister Penny Wong tomorrow morning. You've met with Speaker of the House already this afternoon, but not the Prime Minister as yet. Is that right? You haven't secured a meeting with Albanese yet?
Yes, we are still working on the meeting with the Prime Minister, and hopefully we'll manage to do this. But nevertheless, we really feel support and solidarity of Australian government and people in our fight for democracy. And it's a very important message to Belarusian people that such faraway country, is supporting you. You are not alone. You are not abandoned. And actually, it's also very important to show Belarusian-Australian ties. Maybe not all Australian knows that many years ago, Belarusians were defending Australia in Anzac troops, and the same as now Belarusians are helping Ukrainians. So
amazing.
We have to. And the Kostyushka mountain, Kostyushka is our Belarusian Polish hero. And for example, Sydney Meyer is also of Belarusian origin. So we really, have some ties in our history. Well, and,
we can only wish you a long life, a safe life. And, we can't even begin to imagine the risks that you carry with you personally on a day-to-day basis, but incredible courage and bravery, and really appreciate your time to do this interview while you're in Australia. Thank you so much, Sviatlana.
Thank you.